The Sega CD has a reputation for having a library filled to the brim with full-motion video games, and it's a reputation that's well earned. It was an instance of developers wanting to play with a new technology, but unfortunately not many of them really had a good idea to go with that desire. Luckily, Sega themselves did, and so that's why today, we're going to talk about Panic for the Sega CD. Panic was developed by Sega and published by Data East for the Sega CD in 1994. In Panic, all of the world's machines have been corrupted by a computer virus, and it's up to a young boy named Slap and his dog Stick, who have been sucked into their TV via their Sega CD, to navigate a complex labyrinth of button presses in order to get to the central computer and set things right. Now, I'm going to show you the game's opening demo reel in its entirety. I wouldn't normally do this because I think it's kind of lazy editing, but as I am bound by the limitations of your feeble mortal language, there's no way I can sufficiently convey to you how wacky this game is without showing you, so here we go. Panic is a game about pushing buttons, which is great, because if you enjoy video games, then you're already really good at pushing buttons. Unless you use this thing. Each room that Slap reaches features a variety of buttons to be pressed, with the objective being to press the correct button to advance through the grid. The vast majority of these buttons, however, feature ridiculous gags that showcase the off-the-wall humor that makes Panic such an enjoyable experience. In addition, some of the buttons are booby-trapped and pressing them triggers a cutscene of a landmark or other realistic location being blown to smithereens. The game keeps track of how many you've destroyed, but I actually have no idea what happens if you somehow manage to lose all of them. A map can be brought up by pressing start at any time and it will show you where you are in addition to how many scenes you've accessed and gags you've triggered. You can also save from this menu, which is smart if you find yourself getting closer to the game over sequences. Panic's sense of humor is really what makes the entire experience worthwhile. It's a combination of Monty Python and Japanese slapstick that will literally have you laughing out loud as you traverse the game's many scenes. Expect the unexpected is about as cliché of a statement as you can make, but it certainly applies here. Somewhat surprisingly, Panic came over pretty much unchanged from its Japanese release, which was known as Switch. There are only two emissions, Scene 2B, which featured a cigarette machine, and Scene 9B, which featured a Japanese typewriter. There's also a scene where you encounter the Japanese Sega CD system screen, which wasn't changed for the Western release, oddly enough. The most surprising thing to make the cut, though, is a gag in room 7B where Slap grows numerous breasts all over his body. They didn't want a US audience fumbling through a Japanese typewriter, but a young boy sprouting boobies is A-OK. Now, Panic is listed as a one-player game, and that's accurate in the sense that it only uses one controller, but that's not how I'd recommend playing it. Panic is more of an experience than a game, so to get the most out of it, I think you're going to want to invite over some friends, have a bunch of snacks and drinks, and make an evening out of it. Panic does have mixed reviews around the interwebs, with those who dislike it citing the lack of interactivity, but I think those people are kind of missing the point. Panic isn't a game you set out to beat, It's a game you sit down with to explore. There's a huge number of scenes and gags to see. My most recent playthrough with my wife clocked in at around 2 hours, and we'd seen less than half the scenes and only about 20% of the gags, so replayability isn't an issue either. Once you reach the end, sit on it for a while, and then dive in again fresh later. It's just so unique that I can't fathom how people dislike it. The art is amazing, blending cartoons, surrealist art, and photorealism to really bring the humor to life. The music is wacky, the majority of the silly sound effects are clearly made by someone's mouth, and the voice acting, when it's there, is suitably odd and off-putting. It all just works.
Get away from me!
But baby, I love you. How can you say that? I'm willing to change.
Stop with your socks!
Okay.
Slap is a very likable hero, and his reactions to the insanity are a big part of the fun. Although he never says a word, he's still somehow packed with personality, and you'll definitely enjoy the time you spend with him. Now, Panic is kind of towing the line as far as my cheap and easy to find guidelines go. It's not always listed on eBay, and when it is, it kind of hovers around the $30 mark. And that might seem like a lot for a game like this, but trust me when I say that it's worth every penny. And hey, you can enter to win a WWF pinball machine. Bonus! Switch did receive a re-release on the Japanese PlayStation 2 that's about the same price, if you have a way to play import PS2 games. I haven't played it, so I can't say if there were any changes from the Sega CD release. Panic was unlike anything that had ever been released when it came out in 1994, and to this day is still a unique gem. The price tag may seem disproportionate to what's on offer, but I can honestly say it's a fair price of admission. It's a genuinely funny, charming romp featuring amazing art direction and gags that will fill your living room with laughter. Despite being labeled as a single-player game, this is definitely something you're going to want to share. Panic absolutely belongs in every Sega CD owner's library.